Nobody cares, they don't give a damn. Suffering endless. Think of the children, think of the men youth in this land, struggling against unemployment and fighting starvation. Young women, they walk in the streets, selling their very soul for a fee. Do you get the picture? Mr. Legislator, answer me, answer me. Do you like what you see? Do you like what you see? Oh yeah! To be concerned, try to phone we haven't learned. Corrupt and oppressive leaders never fail, fool us again and again. But nobody cares, they don't give a damn in this country. Repressive laws legalize oppression, strangling the youths of our land. Think of the children, think of the many youths in this land, struggling against unemployment and fighting starvation. Young women, they walk in the street, selling their very soul for a fee. Do you get the picture? Mr. Legislator, answer me, answer me. Do you like what you see? Do you like what you see? Oh yeah! Better wake up and understand that we are the cause of our own despair. It's high time we stop and they win. Nobody cares, they don't give a damn about Tumba, Carnival, short shake and swallow the rest of it. Use the bird and waters of fear. What of the children? What of the many youths in this land, struggling against unemployment and raging starvation? We need another inquiry, shatter the Brookwood industry. Do you get the picture? I'm talking to you, Mr. Voter. Answer me, answer me. Do you like what you see? Did you vote for it to be? Oh no!
Voice with the NRP. This and every Monday, 8:30 to 10 p.m. Join host Stephen Semanas and the NRP candidates as they amplify your voice.
It's Monday, August 25th, and this is Your Voice with the NRP. And with me tonight, Dr. Patricia Bartlett, the professor. And under the microscope, the Special Sustainability Zone Authorization Bill passed in the National Assembly on August 11th, 2025. Good evening, Pat. Always a pleasure to have you. First, for your opening remarks.
Good evening, Steve. I would just like to say welcome and good night to all of our listeners and viewers. Ordinarily, I would single out some people to at least to greet special people. But tonight, because of the circumstances, I would imagine that we have quite a bit that people would want to ring in on. So I'm not going to consume too much time, just to say a general good night and to all, and welcome to the Your Voice with the NRP tonight. It seems like tonight is going to be a busy night. We're starting off with calls, but if you guys can just hold your calls just a little bit, just for us to give a little context to what we're going to discuss this evening, and then afterwards it would be a go for everybody.
And of course, as usual, we have...
If you can please remember to give the numbers out. I have a cousin in St. Kitts in particular. He's always requesting that. But for the benefit of all those who would like to participate in the show, since we do deem that it is a participative type of interaction we have here, then I would suggest that maybe you can give them the numbers again, Steve.
Certainly. The numbers here are 469-7953, 669-7312, and of course 766-7312. Well, just to set the background for our discussion tonight on the newly passed Special Sustainability Zone Authorization Bill, passed in the National Assembly on August 11th, 2025, let us reflect on a national address made by the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Mr. Terence Drew, on October 17th last year. And the morning after, on October 18th, SKNIS produced a story basically capturing what was said in the speech. That story, From CBI to Seed, Prime Minister Drew, St. Kitts and Nevis pivots to sustainable economic growth. The government of St. Kitts and Nevis, led by Prime Minister Honorable Dr. Terence M. Drew, has ramped up efforts to move the Federation away from being heavily reliant on the Citizenship by Investment Program, CBI. This plan was outlined by Prime Minister Drew in the October 17th address to the nation on the state of the CBI program. Over the next 2 to 3 years, we anticipate an economic boom in construction, tourism, agriculture, and sustainable projects. This will be driven by a pivot from our dependency on CBI to sustainable economic expansion and diversification, SEED, said Prime Minister Drew. These SEED pillars, according to the Prime Minister, are core to the Federation's Sustainable Island State Agenda, SISA, a forward-looking economic blueprint that aims to reduce dependence on any single revenue source while fostering growth across critical sectors. Prime Minister Dr. Drew further emphasized that the shift from CBI to SEED is a transformation that aligns with the National Planning Framework, Development Planning Framework, a 15-year plan of his government to promote self-reliance and economic resilience. Accordingly, SEED represents a series of diversified investment pillars encompassing geothermal, agricultural growth, creative industries, and infrastructure development. He went on to speak about the potential for geothermal development on Nevis, saying it could be transformational and it could be a game changer for the St. Kitts Nevis economy. Under agriculture, he spoke about growing Tabasco or peppers on St. Kitts to supply to the Tabasco company, I think, in Louisiana. And he talked about the development of the creative arts and also spoke about building a state-of-the-art performing arts center. Nowhere in that speech was talk about development of economic zones. And so when on August 11th, 2 Mondays ago, this was passed in one sitting in the National Assembly, eyes were opened, eyebrows were raised, and I'm sure, Dr. Bartlett, you were surprised as everyone. That one came from left field. I don't know if it's part of the development plans for the SEED to transition from CBI, or if somebody proffered the idea to the Prime Minister.
I think I would like to associate my comments, directly at the latter part of what you were proposing. Um, it is obvious that Dr. Drew has been set up again. You remember he said that his government was set up with the CBI when they ran into problems there. And I see that this looks quite similar in that I don't think he actually considered the ramifications of this particular bill. In the first instance, let us just, for the benefit of those who are not so familiar, just familiarize people with what this Special Sustainability Zone Authorization Bill was all about. In essence, what that did is that it gave the Prime Minister authority to designate in St. Kitts 750 acres at a minimum towards what they call the sustainable zone. It also gave him the authority to designate such a zone in Nevis as well. And the minimum that was proposed, by the way, it was proposed by our Premier. The minimum on Nevis was 500 acres. Now, that has made its way, not just as a bill, it is now an act. It is now the law that Dr. Drew can designate an area in Nevis. And a lot of Nevisians were taken by surprise that that could happen. Because we have always been told since the inception, since 1983, when we inherited this constitution, that there were some special provisions for Nevis to have exclusive, and when you say exclusive, it means that St. Kitts ought not to be involved in our land transaction as one of those special carve-outs for Nevis. And so a lot of us were taken by surprise that Dr. Drew would venture there until, because this provision for us, mind you, for the Nevis Island legislature to have exclusive right to pass laws related to the lands in Nevis, that was laid out in section, I think it was the Schedule 5 to the Constitution. However, the Constitution also allowed that if you had a lazy premier like the one that we have, who didn't want to do work and do things the correct way, to pass over things. As a matter of fact, he's ceding this power to Dr. Drew in St. Kitts. And we must ask ourselves why, but we'll get to the why later. We will get to the why later. Because this section 37.3 is what gave Dr. Drew the authority to meddle, and I call it meddle, in the land affairs of Nevis, because Dr. Drew doesn't know anything about Nevis. He just comes to Nevis for party. The people in Nevis have been asking him to come in his official capacity as the Prime Minister, and he has not bothered to come. And that has been like 3 years now. And so he doesn't have a moral right. But putting the moral right aside, what the legislature would have said is that in section 37.3, if the NIA requested and consented to the enactment of this special sustainability zone, allowing, or in other words, ceding the power to Dr. Drew to be able to do that in Nevis, then Dr. Drew would have had a right under this specific provision. However, I wish to argue that this provision in itself did not meet the conditions, because the enactment didn't. Because they ignored the fact that it said that the NIA should submit a request to the Prime Minister and consent. Now, the NIA comprises three, as far as we know, three elected representatives on Nevis. That includes Mr. Bran, Mr. Brantley, and Mr. Evelyn. Now, I am yet to see a document that went from these authorized individuals in the NIA to Bastille to request that we be associated with this, to request that the Premier is going to cede the powers that we fought so hard for, or our politicians of the past would have fought so hard for us to get. You know, these are rights. People don't just give up their rights so. But we're going to come to why the Premier thought it expedient to give up his rights just like so. So, on that basis, I don't think that this is constitutional, because I don't think, because we have not seen it, we have not heard it, and this is not something, if the Constitution directs you to do something, it is not like you're running a bar shop. Cabo, no disrespect, but they can't just go by Cabo and say, well, boy, on a handshake and a beer, and say, well, do this for us. It doesn't work like that. Because when the Premier goes to Bastille for Parliament, he doesn't go as the Premier. He goes as a member of Parliament for Nevis 9. Mm-hmm. That means he's just a member of Parliament, and he happens to be the leader of the opposition in Parliament in St. Kitts. But he doesn't go down there. So if he goes down and consents to something in the Parliament, it's not as the NIA. The Premier himself is not the NIA. This authorization must come from the NIA, which means Eric, and I don't think that Eric would have, well, I don't think he probably would have understood all that would have been in this thing. He was busy, thinking about going someplace with his grater. But Brand, I think, is a little more conscientious and, and more in tune with what is going on. And I can't imagine that Brand would side with the Premier in terms of ceding power to Dr. Drew as it relates to our lands in Nevis. Not the Brand who would have said that if the Premier gives away geothermal to St. Kitts, that is political suicide. I'm expecting Brand to come out with a statement to say whether or not the NIA would have sanctioned this, whether or not the NIA would have requested and consented to be a part of the enactment of this particular bill in Bastille. And so, as far as I'm concerned, until I see such proof that the NIA, not Mr. Brantley, because he's not the NIA, when he goes to St. Kitts, and I want to repeat that, when he goes to St. Kitts, he does not, to the Parliament, he does not go as the Premier of Nevis. The Premier of Nevis goes to the Nevis Island Assembly. When he goes there, he's recognized as the Premier. In St. Kitts, he's just a member for number 9, and that is how he's addressed. You would hear the Speaker of the House specifically say member of number 9, because that's what all he is, member of number 9. And so I want people to start thinking about these kind of things that are happening right under our noses. Where is our legal fraternity? The conscious ones, the ones who are saying, no, this ain't smell right, this ain't look right, this ain't not what the law say. We need people to come out and stand up and challenge these things, because he already ceded the responsibility that he had, or the rights that he had as it relates to production of electricity in Nevis when he gave away geothermal. And that was one of the rights that Nevis had exclusively in the Nevis Island legislation to pass laws on. He gave away that right. Now he's coming and he's giving away the land rights. Well, what is next? If he cannot do the job, the Premier ought to just step aside. And maybe this is an opportune time for him to step aside, because what he's suggesting is he doesn't want to be compromised, or he doesn't want to be called out as the one to be signing off when the real estate person, who is his wife, would be advanced, involved in the sale and of the lands. And you would have heard him tonight saying a lot of nothing, because a lot of people were, what is he going to say tonight? We have to counter this. But what the Premier said tonight, and nothing amounts to the same thing, because he didn't shed any light on anything, except it seems like he wanted to come on to score a point to say that the leader of NRP had some lands over in the area and divested herself of it. I mean, to waste people time in anticipation of these 15 minutes, and I was taken aback by the level of the engagement tonight or the waste of precious time. Because what we know is that, lands or landowners have been contacted by his wife's real estate business or firm since as early as 2023. And all the time he has been denying that anything was going on. And he has still not said anything specific to what is going on tonight. He's trying to at least, I think, make people believe that their eyes are not seeing what they're seeing. And so when he comes tonight with all the fluff in standard English and made his presentation, and I didn't even scribble one word to say I'm going to at least counter what the Premier just said, because it was not worthy of that. I'm like, let me stick to this script, because I know Carlisle them boys going to come later and they're going to rip him apart, line for line, But the thing is, that is just a distraction. And I don't want to be distracted from what other people ought to know, because he's not telling them what they need to know. What people need to understand is that this billionaire cryptocurrency king,
Mogul,
who it is the premiers or other people would have said is rumored, that is him. Well, if we go on the rumors, because we realize in Nevis most rumors are true, then what me visions need to understand is the vision, what drives this individual. And this is not something that is hidden. He has associated himself with the principles of libertarians, and that is a group that thinks that all human interactions should be free of government interference. They don't want no laws. They don't want to be confined to whatever it is that your laws say in your island. And so what they would have said, and I read something today, but like I said, I leave a lot of it to Carlisle for later, because I know that him and I would have shared a file today. So what they're saying is, and people do not ever forget what the goal is. Forget all of the niceties, the spin that the Premier tried to put on the thing tonight. Because this man is not interested in coming to make all your life any easier. He is focusing on his vision. And his vision, and let me just read for you, just a small tidbit of what he would have said in that article, or what he purported to have said in that article. He said that when they started preliminary talks with governments to purchase sovereignty and autonomy, people listen to these words because they mean something. They mean that these people don't want no laws applied to them. Just like how Nevis has the autonomy in certain things, and that has been carved out, that is how they want to live. They want to be able to cordon off the space that they're going to be in, and that is their domain. They don't want any interference from neither NIA nor the central government in Bastille. And so they said that when they started these talks, Steve, they said that it was so much easier. They didn't anticipate that it was going to be so easy. And they said that, the interest from these governments was much higher than they anticipated. What does that say about our leaders? What does that say about our leaders? Because they came with a vision to create a space. And he said that what they apparently have been doing is they have been targeting countries that have significant national debt or are in crisis. Listen, These people are targeting our small island because they realize that the Premier has run up the debt to GDP ratio nearly 200% now in Nevis. And he's trying to find a way out. But this is not the way. Because what the guy said is that it is his vision to establish an economic powerhouse next to their doorstep. He said next to our doorstep. Not in our house, next to our doorstep. He's going to be a neighbor. And he's saying that he anticipate hopefully some of the benefits. We'll get some of the benefits to help us out of this crisis that we're in. And so, when they start promising these things, we must ask ourselves, what became, and Dr. Jude, it should have been a moment for him to pause and ponder.
Is it too early to take a call, or you?
Well, let the person call, but it's in the middle of a sentence, and we say we're going to try and do something first.
Well,
but anyway, let them call. Let them in.
Okay. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Your Voice with Dr. Patricia Bartlett.
Good evening, Mr. Menace. Good evening, Dr. Bartlett. I am sorry that I am calling in, but I just couldn't get past this. Dr. Bartlett?
You're not hearing?
I'm not hearing the person. I don't know. You're hearing the person?
I'm hearing the person, so it must be an adjustment on your headphones.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, caller.
Okay, Dr. Bartlett, one of the things that stood out in my mind was when he said, St. Kitts Nevis is the first country in the world to enter this type of agreement. That says it all for me, right? And these persons that have come have done their homework. They know exactly what they're dealing with. They knew how easy it would be or not be. And here we are today. Now, one of the things that I can't get over is the total disrespect that this premier, this leader of our country, has leashed on the people of Nevis. Total disrespect. NRP some years ago, when they were proposing to bring a project here that would be a big deal on Nevis, decided to bring it into a town hall meeting and present it along with those investors to Nevisions, so we had an understanding of what is it that they were getting ready to agree to, and things were explained. This thing has now reached St. Kitts. And you know what? I don't want to hear nothing about nobody, mother, father, sister, brother from Nevis. I'm so tired of that, and that whole thing is so dragged out. Give me a break. I am so disappointed in Dr. Drew and that team from St. Kitts. Because if Kittitians had heard that they were a part of their land were going to go for the sustainability thingy, whatever they want to call it, and they were going to have no access to that part of the country, Kittitians would have been kicking up. They weren't going to let it go this easily. So why are we in the vision being so quiet? Everybody was speak tonight. And this was the most disappointing speech because it said nothing. It said nothing. It dragged other people into it, which we don't need to hear. It took us round and around the chin chin bam, and it said nothing. And it's left us now with, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Because Nevisions cannot. Nevisions, please, we cannot sit back and allow this to happen and watch this happen. We can't. For weeks we have heard, oh, we don't know anything about what you guys are talking about. It's just a rumor. We have been played like fools. We have been lied to. We have been disrespected. And we just can't let this go. Okay? We really can't let this go like this. We will have lots more time to talk about this, but we better make it quick. We better make it fast. And the premier needs to bring his body back here in Nevis and stand in front of us. Don't hide behind YouTube and Facebook and all of that to talk trash, so that we can ask you a question which you know you will never want to answer. You have already agreed to certain things on the behalf of the people of Nevis that Nevisions don't want, and you knew it. He knew it. That's why he went about it like this. And we're not going to sit back and let this go like this. We cannot allow this to go like this.
Okay.
Let me just be personal. My father was one of the people. My father never had no big university degree. He had a mind that he can think, and he thought about his family. His father thought about his siblings, his children, and his family down the road. My father did the same thing, and so many other parents did the same thing. That's why there are several families in Nevis. Have you ever heard of any Nevisians having land on the beach anywhere else in Nevis? This is the first and only place in Nevis where Nevisians own the lands on the beach. And we're about to lose that. We can't let this happen. We can't.
Okay.
Good night, guys.
Okay, thank you, caller. And let me say to the people who are calling in, we want you to give an opportunity to Dr. Bartlett to lay her case out. So we are going to hold on the calls until I direct you so to do. So go ahead, Dr. Bartlett.
Yes, so just to reiterate that these people, at least the guy who is, or the investor who is behind all of this, just for those who did not hear, that what his vision is that he wants to purchase sovereignty and autonomy over a piece of land. He wants a piece of land for himself. And when he says he wants to establish sovereignty and autonomy, it means that is what qualifies that area to be what we call not a sustainable, a special sustainable zone, call it what it is. Mm-hmm. It is going to be an enclave. Mm-hmm. That is what the definition of an enclave is. And so let us not be fooled by what the Premier would have said or attempted to say tonight. He can't whitewash this one, right? And so I was making reference to what they anticipate if things work out. Mm-hmm. They said that we should be able to get some spin-off and they should be able to help us with our debt problem. And I think that is what would have been the selling point for poor Eric, you know? And so he might have, you know, said, boy, yes, because I understand that one of the comments he would have made in the parliament would have been just that, because of the economic situation and we need to get our investors. But we can't just jump at any direct. I was waiting on Dr. Drew to roll out all of those programs and those projects that he had promised the country. And then he had also promised that we're going to have jobs, more jobs than we could use. And we might have to import labor. Let us get back to that blueprint. That is one that divisions were excited about, not this anticipated enclave in the south of Nevis. And I just want people to understand that even though this man is a billionaire, they don't just come willy-nilly and show out their money. Since 2023, they have been fishing around, at least the realtor here, on their behalf, has been approaching people and been offering, mind you, of all the billions of dollars they have access to, they have been offering to our people 1% deposit to hold on to your property for 18 months while they continue their scouting. And if after 18 months they still have not decided or have not advanced to the level at which, because now the Premier is saying that the minimum for that area would be 500 acres. So you could imagine, that's a lot of work that, you know, the Brantley is going to have to do. And so until they get there, they can hold on to your land again for an additional 18 months and give you another 1%. So this is just like feeding our people like chickens and stringing them along. Meantime, you cannot have access or freedom to do with your land, which you're entitled to do, because once you sign an agreement with these people, it stops you from doing anything else. You cannot move left or right. There's no space for you to do anything else with your land. And they hold on to your land title until. And then they claim that after that period of time and nothing works out, then you could just keep the 1% that they would have given you. But at the expense of you not being able to access your land or do anything with it in the meantime. So when the Premier came tonight, let us look and telling us about all these benefits that we can have. Mind you, they have not presented to us an economic study or analysis based on what activities would be proposed in this area. But he's already convinced that we're going to get these. What are the metrics? What information does the Premier have that we don't? What does he have that we don't? So he can come and promise us that we're going to have all these jobs and all the things that Nevis people well want to hear, because we've been starving for opportunities up to this point because they've done nothing to move the needle as it relates to resurrecting this economy. But just these empty promises can't work because the investor himself is saying that they anticipate or they're hinting that there would be some benefits for us. But when you look at the development agreement in the same SSZ, the Special Sustainability Zone Authorization Bill, or the Act now, when you look at that, in Section 5, subsection 1A, out of this development agreement, it speaks to benefits for at least 10 years. No, 10 years in the overall scope of things. So what they're going to sign on to is that they could only guarantee, or they're only obligated to deliver on whatever, and they have not defined exactly what these benefits are going to be. But whatever it is, imagine that in our act now we're saying that these people only have to commit to at least 10 years, minimum 10 years, after you would have taken up 750 acres minimum in St. Kitts. And this represents 1.8% of the land mass in St. Kitts. Mind you, all of the landmass after that is not necessarily available to people because a lot of it would be in private hands. You saw what happened over in Christopher Harbour area on the Southeast Peninsula. The gentleman there, the investor there, held on to lands for how many years? And now he's cashing in. Mm-hmm. And all of the promises that were made related to that zone, they still have not materialized for the people of St. Kitts. And so he has been taken out of the economy rather than putting in. But in the first instance, he promised that he was going to put in. And that is the problem we have with our politicians. They're too gullible and too lazy. They're too lazy to do the work that is required to develop a country. And so they sell your passport. No, they're selling your lands. What are they going to sell next? What are they going to sell next? And so let us not be fooled by what the Premier had to say tonight, because all these are diversion tactics. He doesn't want you to focus on the fact that the real beneficiaries up front, on the front end, because we're still thinking about something that is promised 10 years from now. We don't even know when this project is going to be operationalized. And so we have to keep focus. And so when you find that this constant pressure is being put on the land owners in the area, you don't have to wonder why, and I'm going to tell you why it's so much pressure. When we look at the lands and what they've been offering, through the realtor, lands have been going for between 8 to 10 square foot. But what I'm aware of, $10 per square foot, that I am aware of, per square foot. If you take 500 acres as minimum, because the law did not specify the maximum. So the 1/6 of Nevis, or the 6 square miles of Nevis, that you've heard some people make reference to, and the Premier has brushed them off as just being malicious and guided by politics, the people on the NRF's side, it is still possible that that is indeed how much they can acquire because there's no maximum limit. These people don't, it is limitless, it seems. And so we have to be concerned. But on the front end, at $8 a square foot times 500 acres, it means on a minimum per acre, people would be getting $348,000 to anywhere between $348,000 to $436,000 per acre. Now, multiply that by the 500 acres, and you see that we're talking about land sales in the area of 174 on the low side to 218 million on the high side. Now, I asked a realtor friend of mine, well, how much you guys get as commission for lands? And I was taken aback because I understand that they could get as high as 10%. So it goes from anywhere between 6 and 10%. So if we go on the low side of what Mrs. Brantley is possibly going to get out of this deal, because I have not yet heard of any other realtor involved in this massive land grab. So if it is that she just get the minimum, it means she's walking away with a cool $12 million of our people money. Because our forefathers, I mean, they sweat and they toil and all the rest of it for the lands, and they left it for their children and their grandchildren and to pass down. And just by the soup or just picking up a telephone and saying, well, I would offer you this or that on behalf of somebody else, and she walks away with 12 million when you had an acre and you get $340-something thousand. Now, if it is that she holds out for the 10% or they are being generous because they're the ones who brought them here, it means that she's been walking away with a $22 million. $22 million commission, and they're getting theirs on the front side. On the front end, they don't have to wait for nobody to develop nothing. They're getting theirs on the front end. So no bother with all the fancy talk you're hearing. This is what they want to obfuscate. They don't want nobody to know how much they're getting out of the deal. And that's why he went to Bastia and said, look, trick off poor Dr. Joe again, you know? Poor Dr. Joe again.
Sorry for your friend, man.
Sorry for him. You know, I like Dr. Joe, but they gone out there and fool off poor Dr. Joe again. And it is not just that that family is going to walk away with between $12 and $22 million. And I am not envious of anybody because I'm quite satisfied with the little that I have. Because I know when we die, we can't take it. And I've seen people sick. And I know what it is when they're checking out. So we can't take anything with us. So I am not envious of what the Premier or his wife stands to gain from this transaction. I am sorry for the people of Nevis who were tricked. Some of them were tricked in because they never knew what was going to be established. And up to tonight, he's still not making an admission. He's now at least admitting that there's a potential investor. He's now speaking in terms, and he should come back and apologize to Carlin because he knew that he was lying when Carlin was asking him questions about the development, because, I mean, I assume they sleep on the same pillow. And so he knew what was going on, and he denied it. But we have to also recognize that I have not heard of any other legal firm that is involved in the transfer of lands and the process of that. And what I understand from one of my lawyer friends is that for each transaction, you can get anywhere between $1,500 to $2,500. So start multiplying that and see how much this one family taking out of this deal. And then who else benefit? We are now being promised down the line that something might materialize. And he's still not making admission that we ain't going to be able to go over there. Still not making that admission that we'll be able to go over there. Making it sound like we're still going to have access to the marine environment and all of that. So this might really explain, and some people are wondering, why is she so aggressive? And I had an encounter with her, and it was not very pleasant. And at the end of the exchange, she was asking me why I was irate. I was irate because of some of the things I saw in the agreement. Because my family not my direct family, my grandmother would have left some land there for her children. And my mother happened to be one of my grandmother's children. And so by virtue of that, I saw an agreement that the person who is in charge of it, the executor, would have, exchanged with me. And when I saw some of the things in there, I'm like, why are you trying to take advantage of poor people? And I want all people to read these agreements carefully. Because one of the clauses that made me scream at Madam Brantley is that in it, they said that if there's any dispute regarding this land transaction between you and them, you have to come Miami. No, you have an old person here who have a piece of land and say, okay, it's a long time, we're going to pinch off a little piece and sell it because, they could do with some of the money. But if there's some dispute and they could manufacture any dispute that they wanted to, a lot of people are going to end up forfeiting what they have because they're not going to be able to have the means to challenge these people in Miami, because that is where you have to head for settlement. Who has those kind of contacts? Who has the kind of money to challenge a billionaire in an overseas jurisdiction? So people need to understand what is going on here. It's not just about divisions and how they can benefit, but on the front end, we see who benefiting. And so we see the level of aggression. People saying you're calling and calling, and my poor aunt was like, these people keep harassing me. That's what she said to me, These people keep harassing me all the time. And I was like, why are they harassing you? Your name is not even on the title. Why are they harassing you? But they knew that she was associated with it. And so they keep harassing her. There's no need for that. And then we had the lies that accompanied all that, telling people, all kind of things, was said. And then the cover up the blatant cover-up that the Premier is just now trying to pretend as if he's brushing it off, as if it was really a cover-up, but he wasn't at the point where he could divulge certain information. And so he would do that at town hall meeting. He had the opportunity at a town hall meeting. Why he want to go rent the people building again? He could have addressed it right there when Carlin asked him about it, and there probably would not have been a need to have asked people again to come out to town hall meeting, because the questions could have been asked right there. And of course, we have been hearing about threats to our landowners in that area, that if they don't sell, and I don't know how credible these accounts are, I don't have any reason to think that our people would lie, but what we are hearing is that some people have been threatened. If you don't sell your land, then eventually the government would take your lands. And then when we see that this Special Sustainability Zone Authorization Bill came to Parliament, and three readings back to back, three in the same day, not giving anybody any time to understand what was written in it, no consultation, nothing. The people had no input, and not even one person in that hall opposed, because I don't know if it was scheduled such that to catch two of them who couldn't make it, who might have made a little fuss.
Let's take this caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Your Voice with the NRP.
Yes, good evening.
Raise your voice, please, caller.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
I spent some time listening the so-called premier. And this man is getting emptier and emptier, like a bucket with water. Getting more empty and emptier. I expect that when he come and address the nation, he will tell the people in Nevis what's going to happen over there. If they're going to melt steel, bauxite, mineral. But he don't come with that. That is what we need to know. What's going to happen over there? Now come tell me some millionaire from St. and Nevis. We need to know what's going to happen over there. If they're going to make cars, but he come to attack. But he, oh boy, I don't know what to say about this man. I believe the devil come Nevis and meet him. I believe so. But I think he get cornered. He get cornered. And he can't back away from this. And the only thing he can do, suck up his pride, call Dr. Joe, go back in the house, and bring back the bill down. Take it down. Because this thing now stand. No gated community. And Nevis John should not stand up for no gated community in Nevis. Bracha fight too hard for this. Sim Daniel fight hard for this. No. This thing can't work. So I expect that the premier will come with something good. But it come with a bucket full of holes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, caller. Pat, you use the word land grab. You use that word, right? Or the term land grab. The calls are going crazy. Let's take this one. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Your Voice with the NRP.
Yeah, Mr. Manners and Ms. Bartlett.
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First of all, apartheid strike out in South Africa, ain't it?
Mostly, but they still have a gated area called Orania, 4 square miles.
You see what Abraham Traore is doing for the people in West Africa, right? That's a leader. Let me tell you something. The man tell the investor, Nevis people stupid car, he got him under he win. Cause he done win 3 elections under them, and he purely here tell them and they must swallow it up. The landowners them is who gonna feel it more. It's all foreigners take over. No? His wife is a foreigner. You see how much money he going with? People don't understand what's going on, especially the landowners. They need to speak out a lot because them own the land and them get pittance. And then when that happens, Nevis people cannot go in an area. Look at Christopher Harbour. That's in a sinking sand. But they get a part. They only get a part because Simmons put a road through. And they couldn't put the gate again because that was the plan, to put a gate. And look at the investors. Oh, that a standstill. We're going to happen to poor Nevis. Nevis not going to land. Nevis is a less land island. When they take away the 6 miles of land, people need to wake up. The man is so loyal that he can't tell no lie no more. He can't tell no lie no more. Don't care how we spit, ain't no more lie. So if we had to face the truth and tell the people them the reality of what's going to take place on that piece of land, if they get it true. And he come and he fool the Prime Minister and all of them in there suck up all the lies in there. One stroke. How a bill could pass one stroke? That against the Constitution. You ever hear that happen? And like Pat, what you say? Nevis is the first island. Because we have no leader. We have a man who like money. As soon as they see him money, he turn over in his head. So he say, yeah, come on. Come with me. I'm going to give you what you want. That is what's going on in Nevis. You got to cut all corners and the people know straight up what's going on. No dally thing, nothing. Them can't walk. Because to the end of the day, I could feel it. You train and go and train, not going to get nowhere to live. They're going to screen up in your house. That means they can't get trained. How much training he have? And how much children landowners have in Nevis? They must work it out. At least now here.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, caller.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that the caller went on to at least point out some of the implications of this land grab, because what we're seeing is that at a minimum, you will be alienating 500 acres of land. You're alienating us from that 500 acres of land.
Okay, let's take this caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Your Voice.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Manager.
Yes, could you raise your voice, please?
Hi, good evening, Mr. Manners, and good evening to
Hi,
you
good
again.
evening.
Dr. Bartlett. I have a question. I want to put the question out there. The citizen that the Premier mentioned, is this a citizen from Jessops? Is this person from Brownhill? Is this person from Rollins? Because he gave the impression that this is somebody who is from Nevis, or from St. Kitts and Nevis. This is somebody who, has been living in St. Kitts and Nevis. So I want people in St. Kitts and Nevis, particularly in Nevis, to think about that. And what is the big secret? If you're looking to enter into whatever agreement or development, then I don't think there should be a secret as to who this citizen is. But the impression should not be given that this is someone who is like me and you, Mr. Manners. Because if you're doing that, you are misleading the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. As you know, I missed the first 5 to 6 minutes of the speech.
Yes, I missed the first part of what the Premier was saying. So if he made the statement that the person is a division, is a citizen.
That's what the caller is intimating.
But we have to remember that we were selling passports, and we have a lot of people who are citizens who never even came to St. Kitts and Nevis.
All right, let's take this one. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Your Voice.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My concern is the Premier is now addressing us at this time. This is called the cat before the horse. Now, when, as earlier caller stated, when former Premier Parry had plans for the area, he came to the people with the investors. You are allowed to ask questions and get answers. We don't know who, we don't know what, we don't know why. And that is the saddest part of this. This is utter disrespect. And I am looking to see if the Premier would ever have the gall to put his name on a ballot paper again, to ask people to vote for him. He has not represented us. This is the worst case scenario could ever think about. I am calling the people of Nevis to remember, if you like him, that is your business. You have a right to like him or not like him. But your family must come first. All these lands are owned by people with families. And handed down Most of them landed, the owners done dead and gone. The children is now dealing with the situation. So what is supposed to happen? You're going to build on top of my house? Because the place can get to build. 1 minute you said that we want to increase the population, then you wonder where will the population going to live? Because when they block off over there, that is it. Let me tell you, I am not convinced anything great can happen, you know. I am not convinced because I have heard about 21 hotels, and I don't see one out of the 21. And each time you're told about the hotels, you were told how much work can be made available to us. Up to now, not, nada. I am convinced that when these people get the land with a title, I don't know going to give Nevis the authority to tell them who and what to do, who and what to hire. Because let me tell you something, cheap labor is going to be made available. You're not going to pay $20 because they do for 10. And so I am yet to think that there's any benefit for with the local people here. Absolutely none. And then the 10-year thing what I talk about, well, maybe the first going to take 10 years to build, and after 10 years you got to go to the air. Maybe that is the state. But I am wondering, I'm going back to the DJ. The DJ made a statement, and I've said it before, and I'm going to keep saying it all the time. The DJ made a statement, said that the now Prime Minister came to Davis, to either a primer or premier, I don't know which one, to seek assistance in the last election. Well, let me go straight up. If it is the premier, I would want to hear where the money comes from, because that's a political money, if it is true. Now, let me tell you something. Christmas gone. Every political party in Sinks had a ball, except CCM. Almost every Saturday, they'd be having a breakfast, nothing from CCM. If you follow the money, and you wonder where the money comes from, you will find the answer right between in there. Good night.
Hi, good night. Before you respond to that, Pat, I wanted to get this land grab statement that you made. When you mentioned it, I went to Google, who always suffice, and it says a land grab is the acquisition of large areas of land by powerful entities, such as governments, corporations, or individuals, often at the expense of local communities and indigenous peoples. These acquisitions are typically motivated by profit from resource extraction, agriculture, or development projects, and can occur through seemingly legal means, fraud, or force. Land grabs frequently result in negative consequences, including displacements, loss of livelihood, environmental degradation, and social injustice, impacting food security and human rights. You still hold fast that this is a land grab?
Of course, I hold fast, because when if I were to give the opportunity to go to the implications that I had documented here, you would see definitely that is what it describes, a land grab, because we started off by saying, okay, the minimum that they're going to alienate is 500 acres. In that area, we know for a fact that most of our small ruminant production happens in that area. What is going to happen to the guys over in Brown Hill, Brady and Carl and Colin and all them guys, when you want to head a mutton, that's where it comes from. That is the place that is supplying most of the mutton that comes on the what we call mutton, called sheep and goat, that comes onto the market. So it is right away impacting our food security drive and our ability to feed ourselves. You take that out, you take out the ability for us to be able to provide food. When you look at poultry production, that is an area that was a possible area for us to be able to have activities geared towards the poultry
industry
processing plant that they had. They said that they were going to establish at Prospect. I don't know what has become of that. But they were building that in anticipation that you would have satellite farmers and that is a natural area that was away from human existence so to speak, or the activities that we have everyday life living. And there's areas in the area that would have conformed to that requirement, in that you wouldn't be disturbing the people while you're producing. And so you don't want to smell the scent of manure first thing in the morning. So that activity away from mainstream living was the ideal thing. That is an area that we could have used to expand those activities. We can't do that now. If we take out 500 acres at a minimum and possibly more, we can't do that now. And so it forced us to live in villages. And I had this experience, and I don't wish that on the visions. I had an aunt in St. Kitts, and because, St. Kitts traditionally did not have people who had a lot of lands, she was living in Irish Town. And in her house is where she raised her chickens, in the back of the room. And so I gone there to spend some time with my aunt, and you have a fowl right there sitting right in the same bedroom. Because people were forced to, if you want to indulge, you had, because they did not have access to lands to do farming. And so we are thinking about forcing people back to living closer to these activities. That's not what Nigerians want. We want to be able to spread out and live our lives. I mean, they're talking about luxury living for these people who would be within these sustainable zones, and they call them sustainable because for some reason they think it is more palatable to slap the word sustainable and everything, and we would accept it.
Good evening, caller. Welcome to Your Voice with Dr. Patricia Bartlett.
Good evening, Steve and Dr. Bartlett. Miss Bartlett, who is your family in Irish Town?
Well, my aunt died.
I born Irish Town, I know everybody in the area. Who is your family? What's your name?
Well, I don't really like to do
She
that.
said she's deceased.
Okay.
She's deceased, but I don't.
I know somebody who see me small and take care of me.
Good.
Yeah. But Steve.
Yeah.
Before you leave here tonight, that song where you play last week, where you end the show with, you have to do that. Every show you do. Until the vagabond boy come and start to speak the truth. That's the song I want to hear you ending that show with.
I will.
That guy, Mark Bradley, he's a cancer to Nevis. He's a cancer, and we got the injection for him, X in his ass and give it an election time. Vote him out. He's no good. And he's telling too much lies. And Steve, why is the big talk down here in Bastille? Mark enter in such an arrangement with this one down here. All of them know what's going on, Oh, Steve, you know Ben Francis' son, Reggie?
Yes.
He operate down in Hertfordshire.
Yeah.
He got a marina down there.
In New Guinea.
One of them wanted, so the one did that down New Guinea. One of them, they sent him a letter, say the one did land. They wanted. Now they're saying they want the marina. They want some land where he put the boat them and fix the boat them. These guys are for poor people, and we gotta get rid of them fast. We have to get rid of them. Dr. Bartlett, continue coming to poor people. We love to hear you, Steve,
yes?
We love to hear you in Bastille. In my area in Easton. Everybody listening to the radio. You could imagine?
Yes, we know.
Because I like talk, Jam don't like talk. And I is the flagship for 2020 radio station,
Yep.
I got a contagion down in Bastille.
We thank you for that.
Listen to the show. Every night, every Monday night, Dr. Bartlett, people just love to hear you. And we're going to vote them out, all of them. Have a good night.
Thank you. Have a good night, too.
Yes, Steve. So, yeah, my aunt, I had an Aunt Edith down there. So it's not a fictional aunt. It's, we used to call her Aunt Edith. But like I said, I don't really like to.
Yeah, we understand.
So I was making a point that there are implications for this, and just to continue, it's going to hamper the ability of Nigerians to be able to afford lands. Because if this were not to pan out, and they didn't go through with creating all this strong economic zone that they think they're saying that they would, and they decide to speculate a little later. If they bought lands from Nivision for between $8 and $10, you know that they're not going to sell it for $8 and $10 10 years from now. And so it means that soon lands in Nevis would be unaffordable for the average Nivision. What is going to happen to our next generation? And so I I made the point that we can't just slap the word sustainability on everything and think that that is palatable and think that everybody is going to accept it, because we're not going to all fall for it, because some of us know what sustainability means. And so for the benefit of those who have not been paying attention, what sustainability really means, it means we're looking at how we live now, so that the resources we use now would not negatively impact the decisions that the next generation are going to make for their livelihood. So what we do now, if we want a better tomorrow for those people who come in, it means that we must be judicious about how we use our resources. So if we use up what we have now and sell all to every person with the highest bidder, when the people come later, the next generation, it means that they would have very little latitude to be able to do anything. And you're going to have the indigenous people, meaning the people in the vision heritage, would just be pushed to the margins. And that is already happening, and this is likely to exacerbate the problem, to make it worse. We cannot afford to sit by and let that happen. I don't care how much of the land Sim Daniel had left and Janice had sold. That not bother me at this point. What bothers me is that we are contemplating selling sovereignty and autonomy by selling these people this piece of land and attaching all these rights to it. And when you read the the special sustainability zone authorization bill, it is very sketchy, you know, and
they say have guardrails.
Guardrails, we know by the time they sell that piece of land and people get what they were expecting, they're long gone. Because I don't anticipate that when this family gets over $22 million, that they're going to even bother to retire here. You know, they're probably gone Grenada or Barbados or wherever else, but not here.
Maybe Martha's Vineyard.
Not here. They're going to be comfortable. They're going to be well taken care of. But we're going to have our indigenous people, our Navisians, who would have already sold their patrimony. And it is not correct to give people the impression that you're creating a sustainable development goals with all of the law associated with that, and going to tell me that if Patricia Bartlett had a piece of land and she didn't want to sell, she was a holdout, or Steve had a piece to sell and he was a holdout, you're not going to use powers to make sure that the activities inside there are done in accordance with the agreement that you would sign with these people. It is not, we're not foolish people. You know, they went and they rushed this through for a reason. They rushed it through for a reason because the Premier wanted to get ahead of the game. Because he realized, okay, things were bubbling in Nevis, he gone, and look at this, set up poor Dr. Joe again.
The first caller, as I said, I missed the first 5 or 6 minutes of the speech. The first caller said that it was suggested during the speech that we are going to be the first to get into something like this. Now, the Premier, in supporting the bill in Parliament, did reflect on 1984 and that St. Kitts Nevis were world leaders. So we were the first to introduce CBI to the world. But he also said in that speech that who never been Dubai want to go Dubai. And this was being modeled off of what has happened in Dubai. So let me share a couple of facts about Dubai. We'll take this caller and then we'll get back to those facts.
Continue.
Hi, good evening, caller.
Good evening again, Steve and Dr. Bartlett. Dr. Bartlett, in answer to your, I'm not sure if it was your question or Steve's question, there was a talk about the investor is a citizen of St. Kitts Nevis. You know who that is, right? Those are the CBI. Those are the CBI. The citizens of St. Kitts Nevis by investment. That's what that was in a reference to.
Okay.
The investor is a citizen of St. Kitts Nevis. So, I mean, why are we trying to fool people with that? Anyway, let me move on quickly. Dr. Bartlett, you made mention of a 1% deposit earlier. And when I had learned that, my eyes flip open. I had never heard of a 1% deposit when purchasing real estate. The bigger issue would be for me a 1% deposit over a time frame, a year, 2 years, 3 years. But guess what? You don't get your deposit. Your deposit goes into an escrow account. So technically, you're not getting your deposit. You're not holding your deposit. What is it what guarantee do you have if you're not getting your deposit and it goes into an escrow account?
Well, I can't answer that. Maybe there have been variations to the agreements that have been, signed. The one that I saw, the interaction I had with Mrs. Brantley, sorry, is that I was supposed to collect a check, so it sounded like, I don't know if maybe she thought there would be more resistance from me and we wouldn't agree to an escrow account. But
Okay.
no, I don't, I can't verify that. And I don't want to speak to that because I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't know of that arrangement about the escrow accounts.
That's very interesting. It seemed like different people had different experiences
It's possible.
and different agreements.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very interesting. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we've got another caller. You're on, caller. Welcome to Your Voice. Hello.
Good evening. How are you doing?
Hi, good evening.
Yeah. I just want to make a point here. I heard Pat say something concerning the contract, what's in the contract for those land people. And one of it, if anything will happen, you can't settle it here. You'll have to go to Miami. And that's what I realize with these foreigners. They do that because they know definitely to go there, it costs you. And what you're going to do, you're going to just abort whatever it is, so they'll get away. Because the same guy from Sinkits, Reginald, the guy who with the issue at New Guinea, he stated that he did some work for Christopher Harbour, come up to $2 million. At the end of the day, he did not get $2 million. He got, what happened, he had to go somewhere in the States to settle it, and he couldn't afford it. So the government here offered, tell him, take $200,000 and they'll pay him the rest from CBI. He said, up to now, he ain't get a cent from them.
Okay.
But he couldn't afford going up there. So that's I don't know. When you look at it, maybe it's the government here, the people here invoking that in there so that you don't hear this kind of a thing around here. Something is not right. So thank you.
Okay, of course, we can't substantiate that.
Substantiate what?
What the person said. They've given us their version. Of course, we can't substantiate that, but we accommodate it nonetheless. But let me get back to Dubai, which the Premier, based on his presentation in the Parliament, wants to make us the Dubai of the Caribbean. Dubai has a population of 4 million people. 92% are expatriates. A lot of them came from wars in Lebanon, other places in the Middle East, India, Pakistan. So they're unlike Nevis in that regard. They're not a landed people. People who have seen Bradshaw fight for land, Sim Daniel selling lands at $6 per acre in some areas of Nevis, for instance. So that's one difference. The second difference is that Dubai has had extensive land reclamation projects, which have added more than 300 kilometers or 190 miles of shoreline to that country. In fact, the world's tallest building, the Burj Khalifa, is built on reclaimed land. On our south side, we have been losing land to the sea. One fellow said to me, boy, when I went to school, they used to tell us Nevis was 50 square miles. Now we hear it's 36, and most of it on the south side. The Premier encouraged listeners to research the Dubai International Financial Center, which is the governing body for what is happening in Dubai. The Dubai International Financial Center is a special economic zone in Dubai, covering 272 acres, established in 2004. So Dubai, for all its flourishing, has devoted 272 acres to that. And you said we are devoting 500 here in Nevis and 750 in St. Kitts. And listen to this. The Dubai International Financial Center offers clients a 50-year guarantee of zero taxes on corporate income and profits. And you're saying here that in 10 years, when these people are prospecting and haven't put anything on the ground, we're expecting returns?
Well, that is not my promise.
No, but that's what we're being told, that,
well, that is
this is being modeled on Dubai.
Well, I guess the Premier could say what he wants.
It's flowery, it sounds
At
good.
the end of the day, I think a lot of divisions are more concerned with the fact that the lands would leave the hands of divisions, would go in the hands of people who have very or little or no attachment to the land here.
Mm-hmm.
We are talking about the patrimony of many families
Mm-hmm.
involved here. And I think that the concern is that people at some point, if they fall within the prescribed sustainable zone or the special sustainability zone, the question is, what is going to become of those people? He said tonight that these are transactions between the buyer and the seller, and government is not involved in that, and blah, blah, blah. Like, what is the big flourish then? Why not accept the same principle of these libertarians in that they want little or no government involvement? Let the people sell lands if they want to. Let them develop the portion that they get access to, and not insert yourself in it. But instead of that, they go on and create this special zone. And I'm like, Dr. Joe, all you could keep the sustainable or the special sustainable development zones in St. Kitts, we'll come over and get the jobs. Since you're going to have more jobs than you can take, there's no reason to take the little land resources that we have left in Nevis. Because St. Kitts have plenty lands down here. Because the lands we're talking about over here, lands that belong to private people. In St. Kitts, they don't need permission. They could just go ahead and there are a lot of lands left in St. Kitts because most of the lands belong to the Crown. And so they wouldn't have that difficulty in St. Kitts at all. People don't have to be worrying too much about the patrimony because they never really lived on those lands. They don't have an attachment to it. Their father and their grandfather didn't leave it behind for them. And so what I'll say is we need a bridge, build a bridge over, create all these zones in St. Kitts, because look at the disparity. The disproportionate allocation. In Nevis, you're saying 500 acres. That consumes 2.8% of the landmass in Nevis. But in St. Kitts, they're declaring 750 acres, which is only a 1.8% of their land, and they have much more land than us. They have over 43,000 acres in St. Kitts. In Nevis, we only have 23,000 plus, and a little bit, I think 23,040 acres in Nevis. So it is kind of disproportionate. If you say, well, we're going to use a 10%, a 1% on each island, then we work the maths. But don't come in pause, and the thing is Brantley is the one who stood up and proposed, and I don't know the merit. I don't understand if he just arbitrarily pull out 500 acres, or he decide, boy, if we make a $22 million, that's good for this family, So anything over that is gravy. Mm-hmm. So we want to make sure at least 500 acres is allocated to this thing. I don't understand the rationale for it, and there was nobody in that parliament to say come back. Nobody. I don't know whether or not it was anticipated that the other two who would have been maybe a part of the opposition, maybe they might have raised some kind of objection, but they were not available on that day, and that's why they had the 3 readings. I don't know. I'm not even going to speculate. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, why the haste? And that is one of the things that niggles at me. It's like, why the haste? But we see what the haste is all about. It's about personal gain. It's about what one family could get out of this thing, irrespective of the fact that you have people out there with all these fears as to what is going to happen. Nothing is said to be addressed that, It is all about take it easy, everything will work out. Mm-hmm, take it easy in fancy language, that everything is going to work out. There's nothing to fear but fear itself. And so divisions are supposed to just go ahead and make your transactions between yourself. Nobody's going to take your land. And I hope, well, I don't know, many of us who are comfortable with that anyway, because government has been known before to take lands. And I don't think that they went into Parliament just to say that they're going to have a zone just to be able to give these people the breaks, because as far as we know, they claim that they're going to have, or they may, that's what they said, that they may have an oversight board to look about, the issues related to the proposal. But it says may, so maybe it is, at the end of the day, it may happen, it may not happen. It may fall to the inexperience at the planning, and then we know that poor planning usually stand on its own. They have been sued before because they get no backing from this Nevis Island administration. And so it might just be the planning trying to take these people to court and then recognize that there's no backing and they might have to back off. And so how do you enforce? It speaks to, when you look at what is entailed in this thing, it hints of an area that would be sovereign. It doesn't come out and explicitly say so. But when you read the language does not give me any comfort that we are not establishing, or we are setting the groundwork to establish an enclave right here in Nevis. And so the Premier could talk from now until he comes back on the mark. Because it seems like he's running away from that. So he could make all the speeches that he wish. I don't think that most people it would have moved the needle for most persons tonight. When those guys come later, they would be able to critique everything that he would have said, because I generally don't listen to him, but I listen to a portion of it because I tune in a little late. But based on what I would have heard, he gave no comfort to me, and I think that the questions remain. He said he's going to have a town hall meeting.
He said a series of town hall meetings.
A series of town hall meetings.
He did preempt that when people asked him around Culturama, well, why meetings around Culturama? He said, we're going to have a series, another round. So he knew exactly what was going down. He knew he eventually would have to come to the people, and it's another reason why he has to come too. Listen.
You have come to the town hall meeting. You have premised a whole debate tonight on some rumor that you say you have been hearing. I don't know how am I supposed to respond to that. I respond to facts. I respond to situations that we are aware of that are on the ground. I said to you that the government has had no formal proposal setting out any project of the kind that you've described.
But that wasn't my question.
I've said that 3 times. And every time I've told you that you're going back to say what you hear, your rumor, what you hear.
I didn't ask if the government had a proposal before it, I asked to please explain to the people or to shed some light on what we are hearing.
But how can I shed light on what you are hearing?
So you don't know?
I don't even know where you're hearing it from.
Okay, you don't know, and it's unfortunate, Mr. Premier, that you don't know as the leader of the island.
Could you give somebody else the mic, please?
You should know as something.
We would have heard what you had to say, Ms. Lawrence.
Mr. Scarborough,
please give somebody else the mic.
Mr. Scarborough, this is a democratic island, we say, right? You don't have to agree with me. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You have commandeered the mic on the basis of a rumor that you have heard. I don't even know. Is your neighbors give you the rumor? You heard it on radio? Where did the rumor come from?
We know. I ain't even trying to let you lead me down the road, but all of us know where party come from.
We have a town hall where the government is seeking to engage with the public. You have insisted on engaging us all night on the basis of what you describe.
Mr. Bradley,
you describe as rumors.
I'm asking if there's any truth to it, because you should know. You're saying there's no proposal before government for development in the area.
Yes.
I accept that. Okay. But then you should know what is happening or what is said to be happening, and then you should be able to shed some light on what is going on. So I was only asking in the interest of the people that to make sure that we are not cut off from being able to use the Atlantic coast, right? And who is offended, I owe no apology to.
So,
right?
Ms. Lawrence,
I want to know because I want to be able to use the shoreline, so I'm asking.
And if there is any development that we need to engage in with the public, we will. I have been trying to answer you all night, and no matter how I try to answer you, keep coming back to what you hear.
Okay.
What you've been hearing. I am not in the same circles as you. I don't know what you're hearing.
My
I can only
conclusion.
respond to what we know as government that has been presented to us, and that is what I can speak to.
So
if, again, I say, I were to speak to every rumor that this island generates, I would have no time to actually do work.
I understand and I agree. The conclusion to your response then, sir, is that you don't know what is happening and you don't know anything about what could be happening in that area. Thank you.
That was July 10th at the Hanley's Road Community Center. Is it fair to say that one of the takeaways from tonight's speech is that we have gone past the rumor stage?
Well, at least tonight he made reference to an investor. That definitely, and he made reference to the fact that land sales were occurring. And so he has still not yet gotten himself the courage to tell people exactly, you know, like someone called and asked if they're going to be making cars.
Let's take this. Good evening, caller. Welcome.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Why are we not putting Mark Bantley out our house? Why is he still in our house? Why? Navy Jones, this not to do with the system and the NRP, you know. This has to do with Nevis. As it's again tonight. That boy is not an asset to us. He's a liability. That boy do not like us. And the other man don't want to see us live. He wants to see us die. Don't get rid of the man out of the house. Good night.
Hi, good night. Pat, we've got just about 8 minutes to go. At the end of it, this was a bill passed in the federal parliament. I know you said there might have been some... let's take this caller. Good evening, caller. We are creeping up on 10 o'clock, so you will have to be quick. Good evening.
Yeah, really quick on the map.
Raise your voice a bit, please.
Yes. I think Mr. Branty put his foot in his mouth tonight, you know. But he did say some good things, because he said they cannot force people to sell their lands or people to buy lands. So he's right with that. And there is no way that he's going to take these people lands to give it to any private investor. So all that law that they talk about there is if government itself is involved and is doing something, and this is like the airport then. So right now, people should be sitting pretty, and you know who looks stupid? Dr. Douglas and those people down in St. Kitts. Because what Mark did tonight was to promote his wife of 20-something years in real estate and to tell us that some citizen is the one who is interested in buying lands over there. That's all he did tonight. It's nothing to do with the NIA itself. Is involved in anything. And he said it tonight. Check the tape. He said it then, he's saying it tonight. They don't know anything about that. Then he said the people in Nevis selected him as premier. That's a lie. We don't have no voting only for premier, not prime minister. His cabinet put him in there as the premier. So he has to let people know if there was a vote, 1-on-1 for premiership, I don't think Mark Banty would ever get it. He is a liar. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, caller. I was saying, Pat, that at the end of it, this was passed in the federal parliament. You insinuated the goading came from Nevis to cover that project, which Kelvin Daly was the first on earth, and he has spoken on extensively and researched brilliantly. So the Premier came out tonight. Your friend Drew has been quiet. We know that he goes off to St. Peter's Gala in New York over the weekend to celebrate. Do you expect anything from him, or will he give us a silent treatment?
Dr. Jew?
Dr. Jew. Or is he saying that's a Brantley thing, that's a Nevis thing?
Yeah, this is just trading favors. I'd advise my good friend Dr. Jew from a long time. I would have suggested to him that if it is, I don't know what it is that Brantley, he's holding for Brantley, or, and I said to him, boy, give him back. If he said, about him and tie or whatever it is, give him back so you don't have to be beholden to him.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow it seems like he's facilitating Brantley for almost anything that he brings there. I mean, there are rumors about, how much, money he would have access through the Brantley connection and all that. I don't want to go there because they're just rumors, and you know how we treat rumors around here.
Yeah.
You know how the Premier treat rumors, there's nothing to these rumors, and so I can't speak to those rumors, even though people from inside came out and said that, they've, have good reason to believe that these things happen. It's unfortunate, and we see that happen a little too often. Our politicians are bought from the onset, and it bothers me, because once they get in, they have to deliver. Someone made the observation earlier that you don't see the CCM ever involving themselves or indulging in any, because it's below them, I would imagine, any
fundraisers,
kind of fundraisers whatsoever. They ain't frying no chicken, they ain't doing any other kind of things that NRP think that is necessary to involve the grassroots people and just to build little by little. But remember that his friend at MSR did say that he gave monies to all these campaigns, and these are people, and we have to be careful. It's about time we had laws on the books to regulate the behavior of our people, our politicians, because they sell out too early and too easily, because they sell out on the front end. Politicians are being bought before they even get into power. And so when they get in, they have to deliver. And these are the same people who keep them in office. So they don't have to sell any chicken like the rest of us. Because these people with their cryptocurrency and their billions stashed away, just give them money so that they could buy the election. And then they have to end up doing the bidding of these people. I can guarantee the visions, and they know that I've never lied to them, because anytime I bring the facts, you would never hear on the other side somebody say that what Dr. Patricia Bartlett said is not true. He might have said that I don't use flowery language like him, and I can only speak to animals. But somehow I've found some way to be able to connect with my people. And they're learning, and they're now getting involved, and to the extent that they're asking questions. So the pressure that has been applied by the language, the animal language, and the other languages used by amongst NRP people get into him. And so that's why he came tonight with his flourish, because he heard that we were going to talk about this special sustainability zone authorization bill that came to the Parliament in St. Kitts. 1, 2, 3 readings right off the bat. And pass. Them are the kind of pressures that are being put on poor Dr. Joe. I don't even think that the poor man would have had time to read the thing and assimilate it, because he's a busy man. I mean, you remember the other day he was signing 22,000 passports in a short period of time, and I was like, how does he have time to do all that and still have a young wife, But I mean, the man is busy. And so when they push these things and he has to sign or, has to bring to Parliament and all that, I don't think he really gets the time to assimilate properly. And so because he does not really have the experience like the others that preceded him, I give him a pass. And so I like Dr. Joe. He can't do, but I'm sorry for him. Because it seems like everybody wants to take advantage of him. Everybody wants to set him up. And this is clearly a setup.
Yep.
This is clearly a setup that originated in Charlestown.
Oh.
And made its way down to Bastia and was facilitated. And I have no apologies to make on that one, because that is the way Patricia Bartlett sees it.
2 minutes to 10, and I'm sure you heard the doorbell. Carlisle, Kelvin Daly, and Tulu, they're standing by. They're taking over at the top of the hour.
Yes.
So we've got further programming. So the final thing for you, Pat. You sat in that seat in January, and you told me not a thing will happen at the Alexandra Hospital this year. And I stared at you in this belief. Next week, Monday, is the 1st of September, and your theory has held true till this moment. Are you surprised that in tonight's speech, where so much was promised, we heard about developmental projects for Nevis, and as I said, I missed the first 6 minutes. The Premier never said anything about the hospital, in what I heard. Never said anything about the airport development, which he he said previously is shovel ready and they're hoping for groundbreaking at Independence. Didn't say anything about geothermal or any other developmental projects as we try to pivot from CBI to SEED. And as you said, both governments, the federal and the local, are severely cash-strapped. Are you surprised that he didn't address any of those other developmental issues?
Well, the Premier was never about development, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have any
Are
plan.
you from Brown Hill? You tell me.
No, man, you can't develop without a plan.
Mm-hmm.
You must have a plan. And it's like, show me how far along the plan you are. You know, let me see where your pitfalls have been. Let's see what it is that we can do to make sure that this plan advances to the benefit of all of us. So when he came tonight and he said, oh, well, NRP make noise about the Mondo track, they make noise about the pier, the Wally pier, and then he deliberately did not mention that we are making noise until now we're agitating, trying to make sure that the Alexandria Hospital is considered. What are we going to do about that? We know that it's a mess up. He keeps promising. The last thing he promised was that the Taiwanese were going to come in.
Right.
And the Taiwanese I've not seen the Taiwanese. I've been up to the hospital because I, have a family member there, and I've not seen any activity whatsoever there. In the meantime, people are running around trying to find places so that they could put the elderly, because the home up there it's bursting at the seams. The flamboyant home. People are on a waiting list, and it doesn't sound good, but apparently, people are waiting and cooping for when one person dies so that they can slip in. We can't get the kind of care that we need. And I'm like, we have this big building sitting there. Okay, can't operate as a hospital. Someone has proposed, and I think one of the callers earlier tonight, I could give him credit for that. He would have said, turn the thing into a nursing home, and let us expand the activities and the service that is offered there, and let us start thinking about relocating and building something from scratch, and so we don't have this headache. But he deliberately did not mention anything about the Alexandria Hospital, because I guess tonight was not the night for it. Tonight was just the night that he wanted to say.
You make the man come on. That post you made where you said you're going to talk everything about the land grab. Well, you bring the man on tonight, and he was hoping that you will get some substance from what you said tonight to carry over to Wednesday night. Yeah, and of course, he has a press conference on Thursday, so he has 3 opportunities this week.
But he just deflated me, because tonight when I came and I was like, there's nothing to respond to.
You're disappointed?
I was
very disappointed.
I was very disappointed. There was nothing to respond to. Maybe Carlisle would get something out of what he said.
Well, they always have some substance to go on, so we await that. We're going to make way for them. Yes. 3 minutes after 10. I got a call on Saturday and told me that, do you know the song by Smarty Jr., The Pirates Are Coming Again? They said that's very appropriate for you to play on Monday. I looked at it, it's 6 minutes plus, but or caller from St. Kitts said, please play the one which you played last week to end the program. That's only 3 minutes, so I will oblige with that. Hold on to your property from
and
Al.
will it to your children.
And we're going to make way for the guys who'll come in and heat the place up. Good night.
When the settlers came to this island about 4 centuries ago, they worked them carrots and arrowaks till they couldn't take it no more. Then they sent for us from Africa to do the full work down here and exploit the land, and we labor, fill the pockets and disappear. Now they coming back for the beads and clothes, and they want to buy all the land by the shores.